what was it?
Second.
Second. So was it before that time or after that time? Does anybody remember? I'm just... I guess the point of my question
I could look up the date.
I don't remember the date we did conduct.
At what point did the mayor enter the decision-making process? Because, I mean, do we still have the ordinance written? Did we change that? We changed that? That
The city administrator does it.
You appoint?
Mayor's out. We changed
No,
the ordinance to the city administrator does the hiring, and then brings it before council.
And so your input is what?
I was kept informed, but not of the name of the candidates throughout the process, but about the process being undertaken, which is, as presented and as I was told through these months, was obviously rigorous. Yeah, with full faith that the people that were involved were going to bring forward a good choice.
So it looks like, I think it's fair to say that 31 years out of 32 and a half years were spent in Lenexa or the Johnson County Sheriff's Department for this candidate. And I guess the question is it a fair assessment when both of the panelists come from those two areas where he served?
Sorry, I can't answer that. I'll have to refer to Cheryl.
I mean, it just seems like the assessment was done by the sheriff's office, maybe not by the sheriff himself. The panelists consisted of the two people who employed for 31 years out of his 32 and a half year career, this person. I guess I'm questioning the validity of a survey or a search that has all those components that seem to be, I don't know, curious.
Well, I know that there were two finalists. I know the second finalist was from the Kansas City metro area, but not from Johnson County or Lenexa.
I'm assuming he's the only one that happened to work for Lenexa and the Johnson County Sheriff, out of at least the 5 finalists, or were there others?
I don't believe so, no.
And regarding his education, is that a Master of Liberal Arts? Is there some criminal justice words in there that are missing, or is that just a general?
I believe you have his resume attached as well.
But it just says Master of Liberal Arts, and I guess I was looking for some criminal justice emphasis. That's not the case?
It's the Master of Liberal Arts.
And same with the bachelor's? I mean, what does that mean, I guess?
Yeah, I've got a question about that too, Larry, because there should be a major here somewhere.
Bachelor of Science, I guess it's a Bachelor of Arts in some concentration, like law enforcement, criminology, criminal justice. Do we know that? Or
Sir, I have the resume in front of you. That's the information I have.
So he doesn't. I mean, I've never heard of a Master's of Liberal Arts. I've heard of a Master of Arts and a Master of Science in some other study or discipline, or Bachelors of Arts, Bachelors of Science, but I don't know what a Master's or a Bachelor's of Arts without some concentration. And I guess it gets back to the question of, is he qualified? I mean, if it's not a criminal justice degree.
I think a lot of individuals, I totally understand where you're coming from. An MLA is a valid degree. I've seen that. And there is a concentration typically with those degree disciplines. BA obviously has a degree discipline.
Right.
We don't know what the major is according to this resume, and maybe that's something that I'd like to see. But
we do have that information.
You do have that information?
Yeah, because we received confirmation of the degrees. I don't want to tell you off the top of my head exactly what it's in, but we do have confirmation of the degree.
Okay.
As part of the background check.
Having said all that, he does have 32 years of law enforcement experience. I know of people within my industry who are very highly qualified in what they do that do not have majors from 30 years ago in that field of specialty. So you know, education is a means of gaining some competence in a certain discipline, but it is not the only means of gaining competence. And this individual does have significant amounts of experience within the disciplines we're looking for as a police chief. So I just want to balance that, and I understand where you're coming from the education perspective, and I would like to know those majors at some point.
Yeah, so what are your concerns then?
Well, I do have some concerns regarding, you know, just the overall the tenor of this, the selection process a little bit. I do. I agree, but I don't think that his education necessarily is the biggest issue here. I mean,
What do you
years of
think?
experience can overcome education.
Well, what do you think are the issues?
Well, I think the biggest issue right now is that we need to have this position filled. And if we can go through, if you want to go, I don't know, what would you want to see, Larry? Would you like to see us revisit the process again?
I'm not in favor of consulting outsiders in a process that we can handle. Certainly on every other director level, we do it without outsiders. And I guess,
In my opinion, I think the police chief is a little bit different. I think that there's a level of expertise and there's situations there that are not your traditional business type situations that you could see, I mean, in any other, to me, that's the difference. Why would you not want law enforcement? I think the fact that we did include law enforcement in this was a great, including our own internal, by the way, and surveying them and seeing what they were looking for. I mean, Cheryl, for her to admit that, hey, this is not my expertise, I'm going to bring in some other experts, I think is a great step to take.
Be very short-sighted not to ask for an outside opinion when we don't have anyone on staff that's ever hired for this position. So not to seek outside counsel would be irresponsible.
I like that we sought outside counsel for this panel. I do, however, agree with Larry on the point that one of the key members worked for Lenexa with the, I mean, I don't know, that just, I agree with Larry a little bit on
for
that.
23 years.
Yeah.
And
I'm not saying that it's not a valid process, and I think it was good to get outside because we don't have the knowledge base to maybe select a police chief. However, I agree with Larry on that part.
Cheryl, to that effect, whose final call was it to recommend the candidate?
Well, the committee, you know, once the committee provided their recommendations, ultimately, we, you know, staff have the authority to they can provide their input.
Right.
I got 2 names from them and looked at them, met with them again individually myself, and then bring you a recommendation from the
You could have
administrative
very
office.
easily gone against the recommendation.
Absolutely.
You chose to as
I could have gone, yes.
leadership.
Okay.
Yeah.
we still can. Is that what you're,
Sure, we still can.
okay.
Sure. Typically, when you're looking at a police chief, you tend to do a headhunt. You know, that's one of the positions that ICMA, because city managers don't hire a police chief often because they typically get in a position and they're there for 25 or 30 years, ICMA provides guidance on the selection.
Right.
You either hire a headhunter for approximately $25,000 to $50,000, or you start to look at other law enforcement experts in your area, because there are very few city managers that go through that process.
Do we
because
need to pay any of the people, or do they volunteer their time to?
volunteer.
That's fantastic.
So we neglected not to ask to spend the $25,000 to $50,000 for a headhunter and conduct the process with the alternative method.
One more question then. So he left the city of Edwardsville. I guess 2 questions. I don't recall offhand how big Edwardsville is. Is it a couple thousand maybe? Not even.
It's about 5,000,
Is it 5,000? And
between 4 and 5, anyway.
so, in June of 2012, he's not, other than teaching, he's not employed.
That's
through-
correct.
And is that, and I don't know if you can tell me this, but, I mean, was he actively seeking employment? Is he retired? He's not retired, then I'm assuming? Or he wasn't retired? Or can you say?
Did he